What if the respect you seek from others was not something you could demand, but was rather a truth you could simply and calmly observe? What if the reality of a relationship is written not in grand declarations of love, but in the tiny, consistent, and often overlooked actions of daily life? Today, we do not learn to test another person's character, but to train our own perception, so we may see the truth clearly and act with wisdom. 10 ways to test her true respect for you. Compiled and published by Stoic Power. Lesson 1. Hidden signs of disrespect. Imagine a skilled and ancient physician, one who has seen every manner of illness. When a patient comes to him feeling vaguely unwell, the physician does not only look for the obvious, glaring symptoms like a high fever or a visible wound. He knows that the most dangerous illnesses often begin not with a roar, but with a whisper. He looks for the subtle signs that a novice would miss: the slight paleness of the skin, a faint tremor in the hand, a subtle change in the rhythm of the breath. He understands that these hidden indicators tell a truer story than the patient's own words. The inner conflict for many of us in our relationships is that we are the novice physician. We tend to focus only on the big, obvious signs of disrespect: overt insults, yelling, betrayal, while remaining completely blind to the far more common and often more corrosive hidden signs that slowly poison the health of a connection. The painful and debilitating problem is that we make excuses for these subtle signs. We ignore the backhanded compliment, the sarcastic tone, the dismissive eye roll, the subtle belittling of our interests in front of friends. We tell ourselves we are being too sensitive or that it's not a big deal. But these small, repeated actions are the early symptoms of a deeper issue. By ignoring them, we allow a culture of disrespect to take root and grow, often until it becomes a full-blown crisis. We fail to act because we fail to see, and we fail to see because on some level we are afraid of what the diagnosis might be. The transformative solution is to stop ignoring the data and to start training our perception to become like that of the master physician. It is the art of calmly and objectively noticing the subtle signs of disrespect, not to start a fight, but to gather accurate, vital information about the true health of the relationship. The core Stoic idea that underpins this is the practice of prosouche, or vigilant, clear-eyed attention. A Stoic strives to see reality as it is, not as he wishes it were. This requires a courageous commitment to looking at the small, uncomfortable truths, not just the large, comfortable illusions. It is not about becoming suspicious or looking for faults. It is about respecting reality enough to see it clearly. The benefit of this is that you move from a state of confused denial to one of perceptive clarity. You can address a potential problem when it is small and manageable, rather than waiting until it has become a massive, painful crisis. This practice builds your own self-trust as you learn to honor your own perceptions and intuitions. The actionable step to cultivate this skill is to start a subtle sign log in a private and secure journal. For 1 week, your only task is to become a neutral data collector. When you witness a small interaction that feels off or leaves you with a feeling of unease, write it down with the dispassionate clarity of a scientist. Use factual language only. For example, I shared a personal goal, and the response was a sarcastic joke about its likelihood of success. Or, I expressed a feeling and the topic was immediately changed to a complaint about their own day. Do not write down your emotional reaction or your interpretation, just the facts. At the end of the week, review the log. You are not looking for a single data point to use as a weapon. You are looking for patterns. This practice of logging the subtle signs moves you from the realm of vague, confusing feelings into the realm of clear, observable data. It is the first step in diagnosing the health of your connection with wisdom and clarity. I urge you to begin this process of observation this week. Become the wise physician of your own relationships. Of course, respect is not just about the absence of disrespect. It's also about positive actions. How do we observe the respect that is shown when no one is watching? Our next lesson explores this crucial area. Before we continue, please subscribe to the Stoic Power channel to commit to the path of clear-sighted wisdom. Lesson 2. Respect shown when unnoticed. Imagine a great, magnificent oak tree. We admire its towering branches, its strong trunk, and its beautiful leaves. But the most important part of the tree, the source of its stability and its very life, is the part we cannot see, the deep, intricate, and powerful root system spreading silently underground. These roots do their most vital work when completely unnoticed, anchoring the tree against the fiercest storms and drawing nourishment from the earth. The inner conflict we face is that we often judge the respect in our relationships based only on the visible branches and leaves. The way a person treats us when we are present, when they are performing for an audience of one. The painful problem is that this is an incomplete and often deceptive picture. A person can be charming, attentive, and respectful to our face, but their true character is revealed in their unseen actions. How do they speak about you to their friends or family when you are not there? How do they handle your personal belongings when you are not looking? Do they honor the commitments they made to you in private? Focusing only on the visible performance leaves us vulnerable to being deceived by a charismatic but ultimately disrespectful partner. We mistake the beautiful leaves for a healthy root system, and then we are shocked when the first storm of adversity topples the entire tree. The transformative solution is to shift our perception, to learn to pay close attention to the unseen roots of a relationship. It is the art of observing how a person acts when they think no one is noticing, for this is where their true character, and therefore their true respect for you, is most reliably revealed. The core Stoic idea is that true virtue and character are not a performance, they are a state of being. The Stoic sage, the ideal wise person, acts with integrity, not to win praise, but because it is his nature to do so. He is the same man in private as he is in public. When observing others, a Stoic looks for this same consistency. He understands that actions performed when no one is watching are the most authentic and reliable data about a person's true character. The benefit of this is that you develop a much deeper and more accurate assessment of the people in your life. You move beyond the seductive surface of words and charm and begin to understand the solid, underlying structure of their character. This allows you to build trust on a much firmer foundation and to invest your time and energy in people who are truly worthy of it. The actionable step is to practice the art of unseen observation. This is not about snooping or spying. It is about paying gentle attention to the small, unnoticed details of daily life. For 1 week, simply observe. When you are in a group setting with your partner and their friends, do they defend you against a teasing remark, or do they join in at your expense? When you lend them your car, do they return it with the gas tank filled or empty? When they talk about your personal ambitions to their family, is their tone supportive and proud, or subtly dismissive? Do they keep the small promises they make when no one else would know if they broke them? Simply notice these things. See them as data points about the health of the unseen root system. Over time, this quiet observation will give you a far truer picture of the respect you're being given than any grand declaration of love ever could. I encourage you to become a quiet observer this week. Look for the roots, not just the leaves. Promises are easy to make, but actions reveal the truth. How do we weigh a person's words against their deeds? Our next lesson is on the truth behind her promises. If you found this lesson insightful, please like this video to help it reach others. Lesson 3. Truth behind her promises. Imagine you're standing on one side of a deep canyon and you need to get to the other side. A person on the other side shouts to you, "Don't worry, I will build you a strong and beautiful bridge." They describe the bridge in magnificent detail. The strong cables, the thick wooden planks, the beautiful design. Their words are convincing, reassuring, and they paint a beautiful picture of a future where you can easily cross. This is a promise. Now imagine you wait. A day goes by, then a week, then a month, and no bridge is ever built. The promises continue, perhaps even more elaborate than before, but the canyon remains uncrossable. The inner conflict for us is that we often fall in love with the beautiful description of the bridge and ignore the hard, undeniable reality of the empty canyon. The painful problem in many relationships is that we become captivated by words and grand promises, even when the daily reality of a person's actions consistently contradicts them. A partner might promise to be more considerate, but their thoughtless actions continue. They might promise to support your goals, but they continue to subtly sabotage your efforts. They might promise to be honest, but you keep discovering small deceptions. We cling to the promise because it represents the potential of what the relationship could be, and we ignore the reality of their actions, which tells us what the relationship is. This gap between words and actions is a profound form of disrespect. It communicates that they believe their words are enough to keep you satisfied, and that they do not respect you enough to do the hard work of following through. The transformative solution is to embrace the core Stoic discipline of judging yourself and others based on actions, not on words. It is the art of believing what people do, not what they say. The core idea is that, for a Stoic, integrity is the perfect alignment of thought, word, and deed. This is the standard they hold for themselves, and it is the standard by which they rationally assess others. Words are cheap and easy. Actions are costly and difficult, and therefore they are the most reliable indicator of a person's true character and intentions. As the Stoics would argue, a person's virtue is not found in their eloquent speeches about philosophy, but in their consistent daily practice of it. The benefit of this is that you become immune to being manipulated by empty promises. You see through the fog of rhetoric and gain a crystal-clear vision of a person's true character. This allows you to make wise decisions about where to invest your trust, your time, and your heart, based on the solid evidence of behavior, not the shifting sands of speech. The actionable step to cultivate this discipline is to start an action word ledger. In a private journal, when your partner makes a significant promise to you, write it down in the word column. Then, in the days and weeks that follow, simply observe. When a corresponding action is taken or not taken, log it in the action column. For example, word: promise to make more time for our relationship on weekends. Action: planned and initiated a date night this Saturday. Or booked every weekend for the next month with their own friends. The goal is not to confront the person with this ledger. The goal is for you to see the undeniable pattern over time. Is there a consistent alignment between the two columns or a consistent misalignment? The data will speak for itself. I challenge you to begin this private ledger for one significant promise this month. Trust the evidence of your own eyes. Trust the bridge that is built, not the one that is only ever described. One of the ways respect is tested is in how our boundaries are treated. Our next lesson is on the boundaries she secretly tests. Please comment below and share your thoughts on the importance of actions over words. Lesson 4. Boundaries she secretly tests. Imagine a great river flowing through a valley. Over centuries, it has carved its course. On its banks stand two large, strong levees, built to contain the river during a flood. These levees are your stated boundaries. Now imagine the river begins to rise. It doesn't try to smash the levee with one great wave. Instead, it begins to probe for weaknesses. A small trickle of water finds a tiny, insignificant crack. If the crack is not repaired, the trickle becomes a stream, and the stream eventually becomes a torrent that washes the entire levee away. The inner conflict we face is that after we have set a boundary, we often fail to notice or respond to the small, subtle probes that test its strength. The painful problem is that our boundaries are constantly and often subtly being tested by those around us. This is not always a malicious act. Sometimes it is just human nature to see how firm a rule really is. You say you need an hour of quiet time to work, and your partner comes in with just one quick question. You say you will not tolerate being spoken to with a sarcastic tone, and they use a tone that is just on the edge of sarcasm. These are the small trickles of water probing the cracks in your levee. If you let these small tests slide, if you don't calmly and consistently reinforce your boundary, you send a powerful message. My walls are not solid. My boundaries are negotiable. My words do not mean what they say. This teaches the other person that they do not need to take your standards seriously. which is the very definition of disrespect. The transformative solution is to become the vigilant levee inspector. It is to recognize that boundaries will always be tested, and to see these tests not as annoying attacks, but as crucial opportunities to calmly, consistently, and firmly reinforce the standards you have set for yourself and your relationships. The core Stoic idea is that a principle is not a principle until it is tested. It is easy to have boundaries when everyone is respecting them. The true test of your character is whether you will uphold your own standards in the face of pressure. The Stoics believed that these daily tests were a gift, a chance to practice our virtue and strengthen our resolve. A boundary is only real if it is consistently enforced. The benefit of this is that your boundaries become real, both to you and to others. By calmly reinforcing them at the first small test, you often prevent a much larger conflict down the road. You teach people through your consistent actions that you are a man of your word and that your self-respect is non-negotiable. This builds a profound and lasting sense of respect. The actionable step is the boundary reinforcement practice. The very next time a small, established boundary is tested, your job is to notice it and to address it calmly and immediately. You do not need to be angry or defensive. A simple, firm statement is all that is needed. For example, if you are interrupted during your designated quiet time, I know this is important to you, but as I said, I need these next 30 minutes without interruption. We can talk as soon as I am finished. If the sarcastic tone appears, that sounded sarcastic to me. As I've said, I need us to communicate without sarcasm for us to have a productive conversation. The key is to be as calm and consistent as the levee itself. You are not punishing them, you are simply maintaining your own structure. I urge you to commit to reinforcing one small boundary this week. Do not let the small trickle become a flood. Another crucial test of respect is not what is said, but how it is said. Our next lesson is on observing the tone in conflict. To support our channel, please subscribe to Stoic Power and join a community committed to building strong, respectful lives. Lesson 5. Her tone in conflict. Imagine a master musician and a novice playing the same single note on a violin. The note itself, a C sharp for instance, is just a frequency, a neutral piece of data. But the novice plays it with a screeching, scratching, unpleasant sound that makes you cringe. The master plays the exact same note, but with a tone that is rich, warm, resonant, and full of complex emotion. The note is the same, but the tone tells a completely different story. The tone reveals the skill, the intention, and the heart of the musician. In a conversation, especially a conflict, the words people use are like the notes. But the tone of voice they use is the music. The inner conflict is that we often get so caught up in debating the notes, the literal words being said, that we fail to listen to the far more revealing music of the interaction. The painful problem is that we can lose an entire argument by focusing on the wrong thing. We can logically dismantle the other person's words, but if their tone is one of contempt, sarcasm, or condescension, we have already lost the battle for respect. The tone of a person's voice in a conflict is one of the most honest and unfiltered indicators of their true feelings and the level of respect they hold for you. Contempt, in particular, which often manifests as a sneering or dismissive tone, has been identified by relationship experts as the single greatest predictor of divorce. When we ignore the tone, we are ignoring the most vital piece of data in the entire conversation. We are arguing about the lyrics while the music is telling us that the opera is already over. The transformative solution is to train your ear to listen beyond the words and to pay keen attention to the emotional music of the conversation. It is to understand that the tone reveals the truth. The core Stoic idea is to apply rational observation to all aspects of an interaction, not just the logical content of the words. A Stoic seeks to understand the reality of the situation. The emotional tone of a speaker is a critical part of that reality. To ignore it is a failure of perception. It is to see the note, but not hear the music. The benefit of this is that you gain a much deeper and more accurate understanding of where you truly stand with someone. It allows you to stop wasting your energy in pointless logical debates, with someone who is, on a fundamental level, communicating a profound lack of respect for you. It gives you the clarity to know whether you are in a productive disagreement or an emotionally abusive dynamic. The actionable step is to conduct a tone audit during your next disagreement. Make a conscious effort to pay more attention to the how than to the what. As the other person is speaking, ask yourself, what is the music they're playing? Is the tone respectful, even if they disagree? Is it open and collaborative, or is it dismissive, condescending, sarcastic, or filled with contempt? You are listening for the emotional texture of the communication. This practice will give you a new layer of information. You might win the argument on points, but if the tone was one of contempt, you have lost the war for respect. I challenge you this week to become a master listener, not just of words, but of music. What is the tone telling you? Sometimes respect is not about what a person does, but about what they are willing to do. Our next lesson is on the subtle ways compromise reveals respect. If you found this lesson helpful, please share it with a friend. Lesson 6. Subtle ways she compromises. To approach this lesson with wisdom, we must first reframe the title. A Stoic does not look for ways another person compromises in the sense of abandoning their principles. Instead, he observes the balance of mutual consideration and sacrifice in a partnership. Therefore, let us call this lesson Observing the Balance of Mutual Compromise. Imagine a perfectly balanced scale, the kind held by the figure of justice. When equal weight is placed on both sides, the scale hangs in a state of beautiful, stable equilibrium. This represents a healthy, respectful relationship where both parties give and take, where both make sacrifices for the good of the union. Now, imagine a scale that is always consistently tipped to one side. One side is heavy with sacrifice, while the other is light and unburdened. This is an unbalanced, unjust, and ultimately unsustainable system. The inner conflict for many people, especially those who are kind and giving by nature, is that they do not notice that they are living in an unbalanced system. They are so busy adding their own sacrifices to their side of the scale that they fail to see that the other side remains perpetually light. The painful problem is that when we consistently find ourselves being the one to sacrifice our needs, our preferences, our time, and our energy for the sake of the relationship, while our partner rarely reciprocates, it is a profound sign of disrespect. It signals that our needs are considered less important, that our time is less valuable, and that our happiness is secondary. A relationship built on a foundation of one-sided sacrifice is not a partnership. It is a quiet form of servitude. This inevitably leads to a deep, simmering resentment and a complete erosion of one's own self-esteem. We start to believe that we are less important because we are being treated as such. The transformative solution is to step back and observe the flow of compromise in the relationship with the objective, impartial eye of a judge. It is to honestly assess whether you are in a balanced partnership or an unbalanced system of one-sided sacrifice. The core Stoic idea here is the cardinal virtue of justice. While we often think of justice in legal terms, for the Stoics, it was a much broader concept that included fairness, equity, and mutual duty in all our relationships. A just relationship involves a fair exchange of energy, support, and compromise. A chronically unbalanced relationship is, by its nature, an unjust one, and it is an injustice not only to you, but to the potential of what a true partnership could be. The benefit of this observation is clarity. It moves you out of a state of vague resentment and into a clear-eyed understanding of the dynamics of your relationship. This clarity allows you to either address the imbalance directly or to make a wise decision about the future of the relationship based on the evidence. The actionable step is to conduct a private compromise log for 1 week. This is not about keeping score in a petty way. It is about gathering data. Create 2 columns in a journal: my sacrifices and partner's sacrifices. Throughout the week, simply note down instances where one of you made a significant compromise for the other. For example, I gave up my weekend plans to attend her family event, or she rescheduled her plans with friends so we could have a date night. Be honest and objective. At the end of the week, Look at the two columns. Is there a general sense of balance and reciprocity, or is one column significantly heavier than the other? The data will reveal the truth of the dynamic. It will show you whether you are in a partnership of equals or a system of service. I urge you to try this objective audit. The truth of the scale will tell you everything you need to know about the level of respect in your relationship. But what about the respect shown when you're not even there to see it? Our next lesson is on observing loyalty. Please like this video if you believe in the importance of balanced, mutual compromise. Lesson 7. Loyalty. When you're not there. Imagine a king who sends his most trusted ambassador to a faraway foreign court. The ambassador's most important duty is to represent the king's honor, interests, and reputation faithfully, especially when the king is not there to witness his actions or hear his words. A loyal ambassador will uphold the king's honor with every fiber of his being. He will defend him against slander, he will speak of him with respect, and he will protect his secrets. A disloyal ambassador, however, might mock the king behind his back, share private information to gain favor, or fail to defend him from the insults of others. The ambassador's loyalty is tested and revealed most truly when he is far from the king's sight. The inner conflict for us is that we can only ever see how our partner acts in our presence, and we often assume that this is how they act when we are not there. The painful problem is that this can be a naive and dangerous assumption. True respect and loyalty are not performative. They are a consistent state of character. A partner who speaks of you with kindness and admiration to your face, but who mocks you, complains about you, or shares your private confidences with their friends behind your back, does not truly respect you. They are engaged in a profound act of duplicity that completely undermines the foundation of trust. This hidden disloyalty is one of the most corrosive forms of disrespect because it attacks your reputation and your relationship from the shadows. Discovering such a breach of trust can be incredibly painful and damaging. The transformative solution is not to become a spy or to interrogate your partner's friends, but to become a calm and patient observer of the small clues that reveal how you are represented when you are not in the room. The core Stoic idea is that a person of integrity is a whole person. Their private self and their public self are aligned. Therefore, a person who truly respects you will respect you in all contexts, when you are there and when you are not. They see your honor and reputation as being intertwined with their own. To defend you is to defend their own choice of partner. To disrespect you is to disrespect their own judgment and their own relationship. The benefit of paying attention to this is that you gain insight into the deepest level of your partner's character and their truest feelings about you. It allows you to know if the respect you are shown in private is real or just a performance. The actionable step is the observation of loyalty. This is a passive and subtle practice, not an active test. It involves simply paying attention in group settings with your partner's friends or family over time. For example, when you are in a group and a friend makes a lighthearted but slightly critical joke at your expense, what is your partner's immediate instinctual reaction? Do they laugh along, or do they subtly defend you or change the subject? When your partner tells a story about you to others, is the story chosen to highlight your strengths and good qualities, or to expose a foolish or embarrassing moment? When you are not present and a topic comes up about which they know your private feelings, do you later find out they honored your confidence, or did they share it as a piece of interesting gossip? You are not looking for a single data point, but for a consistent pattern over time. This pattern of public and semi-public representation will tell you everything you need to know about their private loyalty and the depth of their respect for you. I encourage you to simply be a quiet, calm observer. The truth is always revealed in these small, unguarded moments. Loyalty is one measure of respect. Another is how they treat the things that are most important to you. Our next lesson is on observing their reaction to your priorities. Please subscribe to Stoic Power to continue your journey into Stoic wisdom. Lesson 8. Reaction to your priorities. Imagine a dedicated gardener who is cultivating a special plot in his garden. This plot contains the plants that are most important to him, perhaps a rare orchid he has been nurturing for years, or the vegetables he is growing to feed his family. These plants represent your personal purpose, your most important goals, your essential hobbies, the things outside of your relationship that make you who you are. The inner conflict is how your partner relates to this sacred plot of ground. Do they see it as a beautiful and important part of your life that they should respect and support? Or do they see it as a patch of annoying weeds, taking up time and energy that should rightfully belong to them? The painful problem is when we find ourselves with a partner who is consistently dismissive, unsupportive, or even subtly sabotages our personal priorities. You share your excitement about a new project and they meet it with a sigh or a complaint about how busy you will be. You set aside time for a hobby that brings you joy, and they make you feel guilty for it. They belittle your ambitions or treat your deepest interests as silly and unimportant. This is a subtle but profound form of disrespect. A person who does not respect your priorities does not respect the totality of who you are. They are essentially saying that the only parts of you that have value are the parts that directly serve them and the relationship. This can cause you to slowly abandon the very things that give you a sense of purpose and identity, leaving you feeling diminished, resentful, and hollow. The transformative solution is to see a partner's reaction to your priorities not as a simple difference of opinion, but as a critical test of their respect for your autonomy and your individual purpose. The core Stoic idea is that a healthy relationship is a union between two strong, sovereign individuals who support each other's pursuit of virtue and a meaningful life. The Stoics were not hermits. They believed in deep relationships, but these relationships were between two whole people, not two half people trying to complete each other. Therefore, a partner who truly respects you will respect your path, even if they don't share your specific passions. They will see your individual growth as a benefit to the relationship, not a threat to it. The benefit of observing this clearly is that it helps you identify whether you are in a supportive partnership or a controlling dynamic. It gives you the clarity to choose a partner who will be a fellow traveler on the road of life, someone who encourages your journey, rather than someone who tries to block your path. The actionable step is the priority support test. This is not a trick, but a simple act of clear communication and observation. Choose one of your genuine, important personal priorities. Then, communicate it clearly and calmly to your partner. For example, for the next 3 months, training for this marathon is a major priority for me. It's important for my physical and mental health. Then, simply observe their reaction over the following weeks. Not just their words, but their actions. Are they encouraging? Do they ask about your progress? Do they respect the time you set aside for training? Or are their actions filled with subtle resentment, guilt trips, and complaints about your commitment? The pattern of their reaction will provide you with an immense amount of data about their true level of respect for you as an individual. I urge you to conduct this simple test of communication and observation. The results will be illuminating. A key part of having priorities is having an independent life. How do they respect your independence? That is our next lesson. Please comment below and share one of your important personal priorities. Lesson 9. Respect for your independence. Imagine two magnificent, strong trees growing side by side in a forest. They are close, their branches may even intertwine at the top, and their roots may share the same soil. It provides shade and support for one another. But they are not the same tree. Each has its own space to grow, its own trunk, and its own unique path towards the sunlight. They are connected, but they are also distinct and independent. This is a model for a healthy, respectful relationship. Now, imagine one of those trees is actually a possessive, strangler fig. It starts small, but it wraps itself so tightly around the other tree that it chokes off its light, steals its nutrients, and ultimately smothers its growth, until the host tree becomes nothing more than a dead support structure for the vine. The inner conflict is our failure to distinguish between the healthy, interconnected trees and the toxic, smothering vine. The painful problem is when we find ourselves in a relationship with a partner who does not respect our healthy independence. This often manifests as excessive jealousy, controlling behavior, or a deep-seated neediness that seeks to stifle your autonomy. They might question you endlessly about who you are with, get angry when you spend time with your friends or family, try to control your hobbies or your career choices, or make you feel guilty for having any part of your life that does not revolve around them. This is not a sign of intense love. It is a sign of deep insecurity and a profound disrespect for you as a sovereign individual. They are the strangler fig, and their love will ultimately choke the life out of your own identity. The transformative solution is to see respect for your independence not as an optional extra in a relationship, but as a non-negotiable requirement. It is the understanding that a partner who truly respects you will also trust you. The core Stoic idea is that a wise person cherishes their own freedom and autonomy, and therefore they naturally respect the freedom and autonomy of others. The desire to control another person is seen by the Stoics as a passion born of fear and insecurity, a clear sign of a disordered soul. A person who respects you respects your character, and if they respect your character, they will trust you. A constant need to monitor, question, and control you is a clear statement that they do not trust you, and therefore they do not truly respect you. The benefit of recognizing this is that it protects you from one of the most dangerous and soul-destroying relationship dynamics. It allows you to identify controlling behavior for what it is, a massive red flag, and to take decisive action to protect your freedom and your very self. The actionable step is the trust observation practice. This is not about setting a trap, but about calmly observing reality. The next time you make plans to spend time on your own with your friends or on your personal hobbies, communicate it clearly and calmly. Then, observe your partner's reaction. Is it met with encouragement and trust? Is there a sense of, "Have a great time, I trust you completely"? Or is it met with suspicion, guilt-tripping? "So you'd rather be with them than with me?" A barrage of texts while you are out, or a cold, punishing attitude when you return. The pattern of these reactions is an incredibly reliable indicator of their level of trust and respect for your independence. Be an objective scientist of this data. I encourage you to pay close attention to this dynamic. Is your relationship one of two strong trees growing together, or is one a strangler fig? This brings us to our final lesson. How do we put all these observations together to see the final undeniable truth? Our last lesson is on how consistent actions reveal respect. Please subscribe to Stoic Power to continue your journey. Lesson 10. Consistent actions reveal respect. Imagine you are building a great stone bridge across a river. A single, perfectly laid stone is a good start. A single day of excellent work is admirable. But one good stone does not make a bridge. One good day does not mean the structure is sound. The bridge is only judged to be strong, reliable, and worthy of trust when every stone has been laid with consistent care, when the entire structure, observed over time, proves its integrity. The final truth is revealed not in a single stone, but in the coherence and consistency of the whole. The inner conflict we face in assessing our relationships is that we have a powerful tendency to focus on single positive data points while ignoring a larger negative pattern. The painful problem is that we often get confused by mixed signals. A partner might be disrespectful, dismissive of our priorities, and controlling, but then they follow it up with a moment of intense affection, a beautiful apology, or a grand romantic gesture. We, in our desire for the relationship to work, cling to these positive moments. We use them as evidence to invalidate the larger, more consistent pattern of disrespect. We tell ourselves, "See, they do love and respect me," and we ignore the 90% of the data that tells a different story. We are like an inspector who sees 100 cracked stones in a bridge, but focuses only on the one perfect one, declaring the entire structure safe. This self-deception is what keeps us in unhealthy and disrespectful relationships for months, years, or even a lifetime. The transformative solution is the final synthesis of all the previous lessons. It is the discipline of stepping back, of looking at the entire bridge, and of judging the quality of the relationship based on the undeniable evidence of consistent actions over a long period of time. The core Stoic idea is that character is not a moment. It is a pattern. A single good deed does not make a virtuous man, just as a single mistake does not make a bad one. We must look at the totality of a person's conduct. In a relationship, respect is not a feeling they have for you. It is a consistent pattern of behavior they demonstrate towards you. The Stoic trust the long-term data above all else, above words, above promises, and above occasional grand gestures. The benefit of this is that you achieve ultimate clarity. The confusion of the mixed signals disappears when you zoom out and look at the overall pattern. This clarity gives you the strength and conviction to make a final, wise decision about the relationship based not on hope or fear, but on the overwhelming evidence of reality. The actionable step is to conduct a one-year review. Take some time alone with a journal and look back over a significant period of your relationship. Zoom out from the day-to-day dramas and ask yourself these big-picture questions. In general, over the last year, has the consistent pattern of my partner's actions shown respect for my time, my boundaries, my priorities, and my character? Is the bridge as a whole structurally sound? Is there a consistent pattern of mutual compromise or one-sided sacrifice? Is there a consistent pattern of loyalty or of disrespect? When I look at the data of their actions, not their words, what is the undeniable truth about the level of respect in this relationship? Be ruthlessly honest with yourself. The long-term data is the only data that truly matters. It is the final and most definitive test. I urge you to conduct this review. Trust the pattern, for it will reveal the truth. And it is only from this truth that you can build a life of genuine peace and self-respect. We have journeyed through the 10 great tests of respect, from observing the subtle, hidden signs to analyzing the undeniable evidence of long-term patterns. This Stoic path teaches us that we do not need to demand respect, but rather to cultivate the clarity to see if it is truly present and the strength to walk away if it is not, based on the evidence of consistent action. Thank you for taking this time to learn how to see your relationships with wisdom and clarity. If this video has served you, please like, comment with your greatest insight, and subscribe to the Stoic Power channel for more content on building a life of strength, peace, and self-respect.